All right, let's call the meeting to order. You have introductions, but first, the order of business, can I do pledge of allegiance?
Oh, yes,
All right.
have introductions.
Yeah, so first order of business, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now we'll do it.
Yeah, sorry, it got deleted from the agenda and I put it back in the wrong place.
We'll start with Stephanie.
Yep, Stephanie Gagne from Swanton.
Laura McAllister, Director of Finance and Operations.
Julie Reginald, Superintendent.
Tracy Pilvin, Highgate School Board Member.
Joanne Johnston Franklin, School Board Member.
Osha Patel, Director of Curriculum.
Rennick Darnell Martin, School Board Chair.
Peter Magnet, School Board Member from the town of Franklin.
Elaine Nestor, School Board Member, Highgate.
Thira Bouchard, Franklin School Board Member.
Megan Conley, Swanton School Board Member, Vice Chair.
Don Collins, live in Swanton, on the school board.
Bonnie Wilson, Director of Human Resources.
Derek Urso, Director of Technology.
Joyce Yankee, Principal at Franklin. Lisa Rehound, the School Nurse at Franklin. Jennifer McDonald, Franklin Teacher.
All right, thank you, everyone. And then online we have Jess from Swanton, Chris, Yeshua, Beth Ann. Thank you for joining us. All right, do we have any correspondence, visitors, or public comments at this time?
I spent some time going over the latest versions of H54, the conference of committee, or committee conference met yesterday, and they approved the Senate version. But I have discovered a path that might give us an option that would be very, very workable for us in our particular district. If you want to hear about it, I'd be glad to explain it to you. It's
Yes.
based on the law. Well, during the discussion, the committee of conference,
Can you
there
talk
was.
just a little bit louder,
I'm
Jay?
sorry.
And just can you introduce yourself, Jay, for anyone online?
During the process of approving the Senate version, there was a lot of discussion about supervisor union versus supervisor district. And so within the law, there's an option for us to solve a problem that the state has. And that problem exists with Grand Isle, what to do with Grand Isle, because they're so isolated up there. And geographically, they're separated by a lake of other things. So they really don't have a place to put them. So it occurred to us that we may be able to create a larger SU. Instead of allowing ourselves to become a larger district, we could make a proposal under the law, it's allowed under the law, to increase our district to an SU to include Grand Isle, but it would also include Franklin Northwest, and it would have to include Franklin Northeast in order to meet the 4,000 student minimum requirement. But what that does is that gives us an opportunity to keep our existing school boards. It gives us an opportunity to keep our existing articles of agreement. And I'll just read from my notes if I could. The SUs can support cost effectiveness of scale while retaining representative democracy. We need to organize and mobilize and advocate our district to work with our neighbors to form a larger SU, not a larger SD. In addition, this is an important part of it. In addition, being a larger SU with 2 or 3 SDs as part of it, we could, using current law, we can create a BOCUS. For those of you who don't know what a BOCUS is, that's a Board of Cooperation Program Services to School, and that's in response to Act 168. And so the BOCUS can provide services decided upon the larger SU members that would give our current central office less tasks to perform in the larger unit. And the services will be provided by the BOCUS level, making a 2 to 3 board more manageable for one superintendent. So there's a path for us to take within the law that allow us an option that would keep a lot of what we feel is important to us. And that would allow us to continue the progress that this district has made. And in fact, if you don't mind my saying so, in my discussions with legislators, where many of whom have been looking for an example of a school district that has successfully implemented Act 46, as much as I hate to say this, I say that jokingly, but I think we're probably one of the very few, if not the only school district in the state that can claim that has been successful for us. And it really truly has, and I believe that. If you look at statistics like our student performance at the high school, which has always been a complaint of mine because we were always in the lower 10 percentile. Now we're in the middle percentile. I've never seen that in all the years I served on the board. That's been a long time. I remember the days when we were forced to hire a director of student improvement, otherwise the state was going to seize control of the school. And so for us to achieve that, and to the board's credit, they've made some really important decisions. And one of them, believe it or not, was the $4 million addition here. And I'm not saying that just because I'm from Franklin, but because one of the factors that the state is considering is the condition of the school, and that plays into the viability of the school. So our school districts are not counted in the estimated $6 billion it's going to take to bring schools up to code because they deferred maintenance due to the loss of capital debt service. And so we have a lot going for ourselves, and it's an indication of how we were able to successfully navigate Act 46. I look at the Articles of Agreement that we adopted as more of a means of eliminating issues that would cause a distraction to the board and doing the work that they so obviously did so well since that time. So we have an option that we could pursue. It would take a little work, and I'm willing to do all I can to encourage our legislators. But the reason why it was important for the board to join the alliance is because you get the opportunity to present this proposal to the task force. The task force is charged by statute to give this due consideration. So instead of an SD, it's important to make the distinction to follow the path of SU. And I think given our geographic location and our neighbors to our north and so forth, I think this would be a viable, probably the most viable option that all three of our schools, supervisor unions would have to maintain as much of progress that we're making now, and it continues on for many years to come. So that's why, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted the board to join the alliance, because we get the chance to put together a proposal and present it to the task force this summer. Don't forget, the task force is talking about coming up with 10 to 12, anywhere from 10 to 20 regions. And so this proposal would solve a big problem for the task force with regards to Grand Isle. They don't know where to go. So just wanted to share that with you. We've got all the details and everything. If you want to pursue this, I can give you all the information. Proceed forward.
All right, thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Anyone else online? Okay. Next agenda item, we have agenda review. Julie, was there anything to add?
The only thing is we do not have a bid award for the Cassidy property. I don't know, Peter, if you want to discuss where we are about that, but we don't have an award to give, or we could table it.
I'd like to leave it on there just so we can discuss it.
Okay. But there won't be any action.
Okay. Next we have approval of the minutes from June 3rd. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from June 3rd?
I'll make that motion.
So,
Look, we're in sync, like the whole thing.
all right, we're gonna go with Megan as the first and Elaine as the second.
Sure.
Any discussion on the minutes from June 3rd? Nope. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from June 3rd, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are all here. Wow.
I'd like to abstain.
Okay. What I'm saying. So 801 or 10?
Yep, 801. Yeah.
801. Okay. Next we have administrative reports. I'm gonna actually save Franklin for last because we're here. Yeshua, how are you?
I'm very good. How about you?
Good. Did you have a good last week?
Yes, today we did like our staff farewells for those that were moving on. So I can certainly say that was a little bit more an emotional of an experience than I anticipated. But it was really, really lovely.
Okay. Anything you want to highlight for the board, or if anybody has any questions?
Yeah, I don't think anything necessarily to highlight. I think June is always an exciting time just because it's end of the year. It's spending time with the classrooms together to kind of say that final, the teachers really build a family and it's this community. And every year, right, you have to like give up and they go somewhere else. So lots of just end of the year activities to celebrate. We had our, sixth grade promotion ceremony, which was wonderful. We always try to make it as student centered as possible. This was a group that I would say was really, really nervous. Like I was speaking with kids individually, right? It's going to be okay. You're going to walk. It's going to feel okay once you were there. So that felt really good. We had our end of year awards. We had field days. Just so much exciting stuff. And if people don't know, for a second year in a row, my birthday happened to be the last day of school. So it's exciting. Everyone had a celebration for my birthday. We all played outside all day with water. So that was really cool. And our last final thing for our Penny Wars winners, they got to choose a few adults that ran through an inflatable obstacle course in blow up costumes, which I don't think I've laughed so hard at school in a really long time. And that was just a lot of fun. And then, even though I would have preferred this did not happen, but everybody's saying happy birthday to me, which was wonderful, the whole school. But it's a little awkward when you're standing there, and it was wonderful. I think people really loved it. But yeah, it was a nice little send off. We waved goodbye to the buses as they go. So it was nice closure, and now it's closure with staff. So it's been good.
Okay. Well, I just want to say my kids were so hyped up about the dunk tank, and they kept asking me if I was going to come to the school, and I was like, nope, board members don't do that.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, any questions for Yeshua?
I'd just like to ask, Yashua, it's like, you started here with us and you're going to continue on in another school in our district, but I'd like to, Highgate, I don't want to say anything, has made improvements, I guess I'll say, since you have been there. And I would just like to give you the opportunity to say what you've done there and what Highgate means to you and you're leaving.
Absolutely. I want to think a moment about exactly what I want to say.
No pressure.
I think I'm a really, really systematic thinker that tries to make sure systems are in place that are not adult dependent. Because I've seen a lot of times when they become dependent, when those adults aren't there, things kind of fall through the cracks. And we really want to create systems that are based on being able to function just without people, but there's someone that helps that system, of course, always, but so it's not reliant on people. I think like what I am hopeful for in Swanton, I took my first year, well, it was COVID, so I feel like actually it was my second year. But I took my second year just observing and trying to understand what's happening and then thinking about what are the little tweaks that can have, the most impact. And I think I really tried to build strong relationship with staff so that they would trust me to follow me and to believe in like kind of the vision. And I think one thing I also learned from Joyce actually was around your continuous improvement plan and live it and breathe it and get people on board with you. And I feel like I've seen a lot of success with that as well. So I think coming on as a new administrator, it was just trying to put all the right pieces together, and then constantly analyzing to see if we have impact in the direction we're hoping we did. And if you don't have an impact that's helping you make success, then you really should make a change. And I also like to think of things every year. What changes do we make to help improve ourselves for the following year and not becoming stagnant? Or the belief we've always done it that way, so we should. That's not our kids. So we have to make sure that we're meeting their needs every year as our cohorts of kids are different. I think also really within our behavior system, being really clear around our matrix and what that means for our responses to behavior and holding our students accountable to that matrix, but also getting parents in early. So if we notice a shift in behavior, parents are aware because they can be our best advocates for changed behavior. But also being upfront that if you don't meet these certain criteria for behavior, this is what is going to happen, and being upfront about that the whole time. I think what I'm really going to miss about Highgate is everything, and I mean that genuinely. Like, I'm going to miss everything. I'm going to miss the kids, the staff, the community. There's just so much I'm going to miss, but I feel like I should say I appreciate your props to me, Peter. Did not say that at all. I do feel like things have gone in a really positive direction, and I do feel like Highgate now has Justina coming on, who I think can really carry the system and do a really nice job with the level of experience that she has. And I'm ready to just see how things are at Swanton and to just, get in there and, see what needs to be done in hopes that it will have a really positive trajectory as well. Not saying it doesn't currently, but saying to do similar things I did in Highgate, in hopes that, it'll be a similar experience. But I'm really looking forward to it. I've gotten to dabble a little bit in Swanton with some shadow days that I had with Jess and Chris. I actually was at a Swanton schedule committee meeting today to start our steps with making a new master schedule. So it feels like, it's feeling good. And I don't know if I ever mentioned in my career, I've always in education changed what I've done for the next step. So I was a classroom teacher. I was then an instructional coach, and I was, then a principal. And it's actually the first time I'm changing schools and doing the same thing. So I'm hoping that level of experience with a larger system will help me be successful, because I feel like if you come in as a new administrator, that's challenging in a really large system, because I think there's too many variables that can impact you. But Swanton or Highgate has been an absolutely incredible community, and I have felt very fortunate to be there. And even today, when I kind of had my final thank you to staff, it's just remembering of the 5 years it's been, and I'll certainly always be a Hawk while I join and become a Royal. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Certainly nervous because, it's just a larger system. And it's just everything's different, so to speak, while everything's the same, which sounds weird to say. So I'm really looking forward to it, but thank you.
Thank you, Yeshua. You will be missed at Highgate.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Yeshua? All right. Chris, Jess, how are you? Anything you want to highlight from your last week?
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly for us, I think the biggest part of what's going on right now is the start of the construction work in Babcock, and I know that Yeshua has lived through a similar project before. I have not been part of a project this large before, and I realized really quickly on Monday that when they say they're coming in and starting and basically get out of their way, they really mean it. They came in with 40 some odd people on Monday. Well, people were out doing in-service work, and um, it's really actually pretty incredible how efficient they are, and how organized they are. So they've come in and really gotten right to work. And I think that there was a bit of a surprise today when people walked in at just how much had been done in the day yesterday. So certainly today for us was around packing up classrooms and getting that stuff organized. I think that one of the things that's been really impressive to me in the short amount of time that this work has been going on has really been the responsiveness from the crew and the folks that are there working. The interaction with them has been incredibly positive, and the folks that are kind of leading and facilitating that work were really responsive today when there were questions and some logistical pieces to just try to sort through and get answered. And they really were right there with answers and wanting to support that. So they haven't wasted any time, and we didn't waste any time today getting things packed, and we were able to finish the majority of that today, and we'll finish what we didn't get done in the next couple of days. So that work, I think, is off to a really good start. I also just wanted to mention the Kids Heart Challenge, which is an annual event that used to be called Jump Rope for Heart, that I didn't write about in my report, but it's really become a nice tradition at Swanton. It's a day-long event. Our classes rotate through. It's a fundraiser for the American Heart Association. Cam Nielsen and Dylan Newton organized that. And the kids really love it. We lucked out, as we often have, with great weather this year, and folks raised more than $5,000 for the American Heart Association, which is a pretty incredible amount of money. So kudos to them. And I think the last thing that I would just mention is when we think about traditions and the end of the year, the sixth grade passion projects are also something that come to mind for me. And these are projects that students start thinking about early on in the year. They get to pick a topic that they're passionate about, hence the name, and research that over an extended period of time, and then create presentations that they do and give at the end of the year. And these are really incredible because as you kind of wander through, it has a bit of a science fair feel to it, but there's such an incredible variety of everything from quilting to the Grand Old Opry to baking, and so many different passions that our kids were able to display, that those were really exciting. So certainly those are three of the many highlights that are happening right now.
Okay. And I wanted to ask, you've done a tremendous job at Swanton. A lot of work has gone into that. Probably, difficult to sort of like walking away from the kids and moving on to something different. Any advice, last words for Yeshua as he kind of takes over?
I'm so glad that Yeshua got that tough question before I did. So I started feverishly scribbling notes as Yeshua was answering. I think I'm really excited because I think that we have done some nice work in getting things poised for some really strong systems. Some of the stuff that I jotted down as I was thinking about that question is just the whole reconfiguration of our leadership team this year at Swanton, which has historically kind of been a group of the coaches and the two administrators, and really wanting for a long time to expand that so that that group was representative of stakeholders well beyond those two important groups of folks. And we did that this year. We created that team, and it includes support staff and teachers from each grade band, and representatives from throughout the building. So that group, I think, is really poised to continue their work. As you know, they did a revamp of the EST system this year. That work has kind of come to conclusion as much as it can. It never will really come to conclusion because, like Yeshua said, we're always thinking about ways that we can make it better. But we're at a point where that will be able to be rolled out in the fall for sure. And we've done a lot of work around behavior and our universal systems that I think is really exciting. And I know that Jess is really pumped about continuing that work in the fall and thinking about some responsive classroom training for teachers. The other thing that I think that we've done a really good job of, but also I think is a really incredible strength of the district as a whole, is how we support new teachers. And I think that there are just so many resources that we put in place, from an incredibly strong mentoring program that has a great structure behind it, yet is flexible and can really meet the needs, the individual needs of teachers. And the coaches that we have in place at Swanton, I feel like there's just some really nice systems that we've created over the past few years to support new folks. And also, I think I would just say the integrity to some of our new programs. So implementing a new academic program is a pretty big undertaking. And we've done math and reading over the past 2 or 3 years. And folks have really embraced that and are working on that with fidelity, I think, and really taking that on with gusto. So that's been really exciting. I think things are in a good place. Yeshua is incredibly strong with systems, and I'm really excited to see the work that he continues building those systems. I think it's going to be a really good next year, and I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you. And Jay, you had a question for Chris?
Yeah, Mr. Dodge, I just had one question. If somebody in our supervisory union were interested in making a donation to your heart fund, could they speak to you about that?
Sure.
Or should they speak to you about that? Say somebody within the district would like to make a donation, just come to see you.
Yes, absolutely. If someone could reach out to me and we could talk about that, for sure.
Okay.
Any other questions for Chris? Well, Chris, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Joyce.
Well, I'm gonna be quick because I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, all right, we'll see. We'll see about that, Joyce.
Oh, wait, we'll see about that. People in Franklin will be nervous. So just highlight a few things. Dairy Festival Parade, I want to just thank Jen, she's here. Not many elementary schools march in that parade, so it's really nice that they did that on a Saturday. There was a lot of things in my report. I was so worried when I started writing it, I wouldn't have enough to write about. I forgot at the end of the year there were so many things. I did just want to mention again, I know I had talked about it with Dawn, that the foster grandparent program is ending. And so with Laura and I went to that final dinner, and it was really bittersweet. It was a nice celebration for the foster grandparents that were there. But it really is sad to see that program end, because I think that brought a lot to so many different schools to have that another generation and just all that work going on in the schools. So that was hard. But as I said in my report, David is going to just keep volunteering. So that's going to be really nice. As Yeshua said, all the end of the year activities, this all was so exciting. And our Fun and Fitness Day, actually with the, what they say, 26 weekends of wet weather, we actually had a Fun and Fitness Day without rain, so that was nice. All of our Step Up Day activities, our field trips, and I think I said something about this the last time, but I just have to mention it again after talking to teachers from other places in the district yesterday too. I just don't think anybody can appreciate how much time and effort goes into all the planning and preparation that has to be done for those field trips. And I just really kudos to all the teachers in the district for organizing all those trips. And the parents, like that's really what makes them all so successful, is having so many parents go. Even with our older classes, there are just so many parents that attend those trips. And it's just really great family memories, and it's great for the school. Graduation, as Yeshua said, we try to keep it really student-centered. The 6th grade chorus kids singing, the kids do a speech. What's always hard for me at graduation is saying goodbye to the kids is hard, but a lot of times it's more saying goodbye to the parents, because some of them have had kids here for so many years. One parent was telling me as they were leaving, it's been 18 years, Joyce, with their kids spread out over time. So that's always kind of hard. MVU graduation walk, I have to say, I love that so much every year. Jen had the kids come back again after the 6th grade graduation. Kids volunteered to come back and play again for them when they came. And actually all their decorations were still up from the night before, so I made them all walk through the gym so they could take part in all those decorations, see everything. And then they walk down the main hallway, now we have a main hallway, and then out the end door and then out onto the playground. And that is absolutely my favorite part, to watch those kids getting ready to graduate and jumping on the swing and going around the twirly thing, and it just, and taking pictures with some of their parents, and many parents were here, and just really special. And our final assembly, that's always just so nice to have all the teachers stand up and recognize the kids in their class for different things, and it was really fun to be able to announce. I told the kids I was giving them homework for the summer, because I said that we met our math goal on STAR 360, and we exceeded our reading goal. So I said, I want you over the summer, because I had said we would celebrate if they met that goal, if we all met that goal. And so they are supposed to think about over the summer how they want to celebrate that, within reason. It's like when I do the wish list with them, I say, we can't have a pool, we can't have air conditioning. So within reason, they can think of some way to celebrate. Anyway, so those are a few highlights. And thank you.
Any
And I hope I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, no. We're all here. Any questions for Joyce? All right. Before we move on to presentations, I see Beth Ann is online. And I just wanted to ask, when I looked over the admin reports from last meeting, there was no end of year data for Beth Ann. I didn't know if that was something that we were going to see later on in the summertime. Since you're here.
I'm here because I was not here last time. So I just want to, I would just love to say thank you so much to Chris for everything that you've done for our community. It's been a pleasure working with you. Yes, I would love to provide whatever end of year data you're all looking for. We're currently plugging it in to our state grant, and then hopefully having some of that federal data as well, which is a whole lot of fun stuff about attendance trends and whatnot, and how it impacts the school day. As far as kids that attend after school, how does it then impact their performance during the school day? So I am happy to send you all a report if you'd like it via email or whatever. Just let me know. I'm happy to share.
Future presentation. We'd be happy to have that. Usually that's presentation we do in the fall.
Okay, perfect. And also congratulations on the article in the Messenger about the internship that came out. So, oh, and you were on the news, Peter said. So, big deal. So, yes.
We're really excited. The internship program is looking really solid for this, knock on wood, for this summer. Our community partners are really enthusiastic. The students that we've paired with these opportunities are getting all of their paperwork done. Jerry in central office deserves a huge shout out for helping us process all of these brand new, 14-year-olds who are new to all of this. She's been a fantastic coach with them, asking some of the, very real questions. They've never done something like this before. So a huge shout out to Jerry and Bonnie and everybody for helping support the back end of things before we dive in July. It's going to be a lot, and it's going to be wonderful. And Audrey, who is our leadership liaison, has been doing a fantastic job connecting our kids with these community opportunities. So more to come on that for sure.
Well, thank you for that, and good luck, because everyone's winding down and you're about to start a whole summer program. So, best of luck. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Before we go on to the next article, I'd like to ask what Jess' plans are for the summer, so she's losing one and training another one.
Very funny. So I'm actually taking some classes to get my administrator's license. Right now I'm on a provisional, so I'll start that next week. But it's really bittersweet. I've had a wonderful time working alongside Chris this year as an assistant principal. Definitely admired him as a coach. And we've worked through lots of my growth and challenges. And he's been right there alongside me in those rewarding moments too. So I'm really gonna miss Chris. And I worked with Yeshua in Sheldon for quite a few years. So I'm excited to get back to that and work right alongside him next year. So I'm excited. I also bought a camp, so I'll be hanging out at my camp and trying to
recover from this past year.
One other point, I know we're not doing committee reports tonight, but just wanted to report that Joanne and Laura, I don't know if anyone else was there, but we went to the FFA banquet. And it's an interesting experience. The students spoke well, they gave awards, and I think they just had a very good time. And I was impressed that the FFA, these students are developing skills they never would have developed in any other way.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out for FFA. And glad to see Laura and Joanne there. What do we have, spaghetti?
We did.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dawn. All right. So we're gonna go on a presentation. So I guess the principals, aside from Joyce, can't go anywhere. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and we will move on to next items. So next we have the wellness initiatives and Franklin Central School.
I'm going to stand up because I hate not seeing everybody. So usually for our presentations, I always have students, and I know you love that, but I did give them that homework the other day, but I am letting them have summer off. So I asked 2 other people, actually 3 people, to come and do a presentation tonight, because one of the board goals has been around retention, and that is something that we have a really good track record here in Franklin for retention. I think in all the years that I've been here, I think there have been, other than retirements, 4 classroom teachers, I think, that have left this school. One to become a principal, one to become a full-time literacy leader, one, and we tried so hard, but he had a fiance in Connecticut, and we could not find somebody for him up here. I'm not joking, we really did try hard.
Wasn't lack of trying.
And then one other
Sure.
one that did go to another school and teach a different grade. So anyway, but I think that there's a lot of reasons, I think, for that, but one reason I think is what we do around wellness. And so I did ask 3 people to come here tonight. Our school counselor, Amanda Maletta, Alita Blumauer, our nurse, who's also been a district wellness leader, is our path leader, and Jen McConnell, our music teacher. But I have to tell you, Amanda, our school counselor, was with us at in-service yesterday until 2:45, when then it was a break for to us at the end to kind of read our books and reflect on what the day had been like, which actually I should have put in my report earlier, because I was thanking Kosha earlier. Okay, this is a squirrel, I gotta say this. We had a presentation yesterday by Jessica Minahan on practical strategies for students with challenging behaviors, and I don't know that many people were looking forward to it on a June day when everybody had so many things to do at the end of the school year. And I had seen Jessica before, as had Amanda, and she's really, really good. And I won't go into all the details about it, but I was thanking Kosha before tonight started, because one of the things we did first thing this morning was Brian Doyle, our PE teacher, hadn't been there yesterday, and he was in with us this morning, and I was going to do this anyway, but I had everybody share something from yesterday that they were going to use and took away. And every single person that was there, and I see Kelly nodding, it was really good. And it gave me goosebumps, because, in June, 8 hours sitting in the MVU theater, I like their new seats, but they are not exactly comfy. And there were so many things that came out of it, that today people were already doing some of the things that we heard yesterday, and planning as our transition meetings today and tomorrow. So it was just, I really appreciated it, Kosha, and I think it's really going to help all of our schools. It's great. But anyway, Amanda was there until 2:45, and she came and she saw me and she said, Joyce, I'm feeling a little bit different. I think I need to go. Her due date for her baby was June 18th. She left at 2:45 yesterday, and she emailed me last night, and she had our new little Franklin baby at 11:25 last night. So I have to say, yes. And she had kept a secret the entire time. I was so excited to finally hear kept a secret the baby's name, I should say, not everything else.
There was no keep.
No keeping that secret. Oh my God, the last 3 days watching her walk down the hall. I shouldn't say that.
She looked very
It
tired.
really was. I mean, it was kind of weird. But she was Logan Savino Maletta. So anyway, new Franklin baby. So tonight we're doing a presentation on wellness initiatives here in Franklin, and we're talking about staff, but a lot of these things are really wellness for our kids too. Like when we have again, they mentioned at graduation, how they, in their speech, how they beat us at one of the games, I can't remember if it was the football or basketball, how they beat us. That means so much to them. And I still remember why they beat us. So, okay, we forgot to she's missed. Okay, let me turn the lights on.
So I'm a nurse, so I'm not a public speaker, so if I look like
none of us at Franklin are public speakers.
That's why. Welcome to Franklin. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present here tonight. I'm so thankful to be part of Franklin. It's always been a great community school. My kids came here, just the feeling in the school, the way they make you feel here. It's just welcoming, and it's a great place to work. I've never really worked anywhere else, and I've been working for a really long time, where people support each other like this. When I started, there was a wellness committee in place. I think educators have always participated in the PAC program, which was really just a short 1 month celebration or 1 month program that lasted. It's run through PATH, that stands for Planned Action for Health. It's sponsored by Beehive, the Vermont Education Health Initiative. It's a nonprofit member-owned trust. We are actually part of, as Joyce said, our wellness attendance committee, which is wellness only tonight. We found that if staff are happy and healthy, our kids are more happy and healthy. So super important. When I started here, a lot of the programs that we did involved the kids, and we did alongside them. And then as we worked more with PATH, we focused on staff as well, which is kind of really nice. So when I started here in 2003, again, we were just doing the PATH Adventure, which was that 1 month program. They were wondering, well, what more could we do for staff in the schools in Vermont? So they thought, let's do a pilot, and they were hoping that the more staff they could get to participate, people would look at their own health and be less sick if they were maybe going for well visits instead of ending up in emergency rooms. So in a roundabout way, they thought that would positively affect not only insurance costs, but mental, physical health, and staff retention. If people are healthy and happy where they work, it creates more positive work environment, which definitely, and it leads to less turnover. This program does gather data each year anonymously that tracks physical and mental well-being in the district. This information has helped guide us as a committee to kind of choose different events to plan each year to kind of target those items. Pilot program was a success. So out of that in 2008, which I don't know if it was Joyce or myself, I don't know who got the email to join it, but we did it, and it was a success. So in 2010, they increased the program size. They had more school districts in the state involved, and they added to the program. So all of these up here are events that happen throughout the whole year, and you can actually earn what they call PATH points, and they're giving out prizes and incentives to take part in the program. Initially, when they did the pilot program, it was only Blue Cross Blue Shield members. Once it was done in the pilot and they found that it was pretty successful, they opened it up for all school staff. So anybody that's working in the schools with kids can join this program for free. So
and retired teachers too.
Yeah, they have a retired section as well. Bus drivers, it's really open to any staff at all. And they all have the opportunity to earn points throughout the year and then get those incentives. They have coaching, they offer courses. One of the big pluses, the employee assistance program is open for not only the employee, but anybody in their household. So if anybody's struggling with stress, if you're getting a divorce, if you're looking for a placement for your elderly parent, you call them and they're this big hub of information. They'll connect you to whatever you need. And they offer free counseling sessions, 6 short-term. They offer 30 minutes of legal advice for free as well, and then you get a discount after that. So lots of great things there. Summer challenges, we can sync our Fitbit watches so that you get points through walking that way. The rock stars, which I'll talk about later. Know your numbers and show your smile. They really encourage staff to go to the doctor annually, again, positively affecting their health that way. The quizzes are Joyce's favorite.
I do love the quizzes.
They put out a monthly reading, so they may put out information about ticks one month, and then they put out information about frostbite in the winter. So you learn something. The program is teaching you through all of these different avenues, which is really nice, and you get to earn points. So in a roundabout way, the path, let's see there, the Healthy Life Survey. So every year they do the Healthy Life Survey, and that's what anonymously you answer about your workplace, your home life, your physical, your mental well-being, your stress levels, and that's kind of what guides us into choosing some events to plan throughout the year. So we meet as a team at least monthly, sometimes more often, depending on what's going on. We plan those events, again, based on some of that input that we get, and then through last year, we did have a grant that I applied for through PATH. They gave us some district funds. We found people really like food, and really keeps people motivated, and not just like chocolate, but one of the things that they liked the most really was the build your own chef salad. We just kind of brought in all the items cut up and had a takeout container, and they could just go through and grab it and take it back to their workspace. Anything that makes them feel good, anything that makes them feel appreciated, we try and do that. As I was leaving after school today, our third grade teacher knew that I was coming back to do this, and she said, make sure and tell everybody. And when I get that email that you're having the iced coffee, I know it's going to be a good day and I'm happy. Some of the events that we did this year are up here. We did a lot of potlucks. We did some breast cancer awareness bracelets. Theme days, we do a lot of theme days. On Fridays, we wear our tie-dye. We do, I think it's been 3 years we've been doing tie-dye, right? Maybe
Yeah,
longer.
at least, yeah.
Through the grant last year, we were able to purchase some t-shirts and we did tie-dye those. We were for breast cancer, and of course, Mrs. Dickey and Jen are our football guides here. Do you have I did bring some incentives and prizes too, to show you guys to hand out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that after.
Alita's too nice to mention, but I have to say this Path to Wellness prizes led to one of my most embarrassing moments here at this
It was
school.
fantastic.
was-
Don't tell her, and I didn't. It was
So they do grand prizes and, all these different levels of prizes for anybody that participates. And one year I got a call from the people at the state saying someone here at Franklin School had won. And of course, you know me, I like to celebrate everything. So I literally called the entire school down to the gym to announce who the winner was going to be. And so I got everybody, every kid in the school, every staff member in the school was in the gym, and I was the one who won. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I truly did not know this. And it was a boat, and a packed boat, and I am not a boat person. And they're like, oh, sit in the boat. Where are you gonna go in the boat? And I'm like, I don't swim, I'm afraid of the water.
Stay in the boat.
I think the one time I sat in the boat was in the gym on the floor. But it truly, those incentives really do get you to do it though, but it really was an embarrassing moment. They have not let me forget that. Yeah, Joy, she called the whole school down to watch you get a prize.
And just in a roundabout way, all these things that we do, the kids see. And I think it's encouraging to them too. I had a fourth grader actually this year. They know that we wear the same thing every Friday.
Yeah,
I told him earlier on in the year that he has a motor crush. I'm riding. So I did get a picture of us at some point this year and sent it to his mom, and she was so excited. She said, he didn't let me wash it because he said he had to wear it for his swim hour tomorrow. So it's great to see the kids take part in that too. So in 23, last school year, I'm required to go to trainings twice a year as a district leader. And Kelly, thank you for representing Highgate. And they asked us to nominate people in our school. It was basically to somebody that kind of incorporates wellness and well-being. And it's not always physical activity, it can be emotional, it can be mental, in your school that kind of encourages people to be more healthy. And I wrote 5. So they picked our school, basically, because I don't think they could narrow it down to 1. So they came out and celebrated our school as a rock star school. They videoed all of us, and they brought us hats, socks, to keep us healthy from head to toe, and kind of went around and interviewed everybody. So there's a piece of this I cut off the beginning because it's basically me bringing them and giving them a tour. So that's not fun. But we'll start it with Mrs. Wilson.
Well, we try to involve the kids as much as possible with activities, but Alita has really neat things for us to do all year. She keeps us on our toes, trying to keep us well. And no, we decluttered. Well, that was the best thing that ever happened. No, we have fun with it. We really do. We snowshoed at night when the moon was full, it was up, and unfortunately part of the trail the snowmobiles had gone through, so I kind of crashed. But we had a great time.
But you didn't break anything?
No. So we made sure we took a group picture with the moon, and yeah, that was the probably. I don't think it was crazy. It was just a lot of fun.
Okay, so Jennifer is a literal rock star, because you can see she's the music teacher with her ukulele, because that's the proper pronunciation,
It is the proper
right?
way to say it,
So I'm going to hold these for you in the meantime, so maybe you could give us a little demonstration of musical wellness.
Sure.
She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around the mountain. She'll be coming around the mountain. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Woo! Hey, this is Paula. She is a jack of all trades. It's subs for Alita and nursing, subs for
The secretary at the school, executive secretary. I also help out in the library. I'm a volunteer at the library. I'm a Little League coach.
The list goes on and on. She's extraordinary. What's your favorite story about staff wellness?
Staff wellness? We did do Zumba once in the gym, and Zumba is my favorite thing to do.
Can you show us a little of your moves?
And Maureen Sedaris, thank you very much.
That was awesome.
So, Heather Davey, what is your favorite thing about staff wellness?
I think my favorite thing about staff wellness is just everyone's mental and emotional state. Trying to make sure that things are light, lively. I love to hear people laugh. I love to laugh. Just anything to like brighten someone's day.
Can you tell me a little bit about the staff games against football, basketball?
So we started a football game with the staff versus the 6th graders. So anyone that's in the younger grades knows that they have to wait until they're in 6th grade. But they get to watch. So it started out as a real football game. That got a little bit competitive, so now we modify it into a point system with throwing footballs. So we got clobbered this year by the 6th grade. We do not go down easily. It was quite a fight till the end, but they clobbered us.
This is Laura Sullivan, and we're excited about her because she's going to be a building wellness leader for us. And we're catching her in all her glory getting tattoos to kids today because it's Special Fun and Fitness Tattoo Day. And Laura, just thank you so much for taking on the role and all you do for everybody here at the school. And by the way, you're a rock star from head to toe.
Awesome.
There you
go. Oh my gosh, more. Socks head to toe. So tell us, what is your most inspiring story about staff wellness?
I think it's hard to say, but I know that during COVID times when things were really challenging here, and kids were out of school, just the way that the community came together and teachers made sure to check in with each other and take care of themselves, I think that was pretty amazing.
It was, yeah. You're affectionately known as G. Yes, yeah. Which I have a nickname of G also, so that's really fun. All right, and your role here is?
I'm the school psychologist.
That's right, I knew that. Yeah. Okay, and for the sake of staff wellness, tell us what's been most inspiring to you, your favorite staff wellness story.
Oh my goodness, my favorite staff wellness story. This is too much pressure. I mean, honestly, I don't know if it's a single story, but there is a constant sort of wheel of checking in on each other, and there's an amazing community here at Franklin that is unlike any place else I have been, and I think that keeps spirits up and keeps morale up and keeps people healthy and happy and coming back here year after year after year and retaining employees that want to be here and feel good about being here, and I think that's massive. So the ongoing conversation, I think, is probably my favorite part of being a part of this community. I am inspired by the fact that there is just relentless care and just an ongoing sense of there always being a net. And there is always going to be someone to help pick you up, and there's always going to be that love, and that's what it takes. And so I think that there's no falling or failure. There's a net, and that's really reassuring, and I think, keeps us going.
I thought you couldn't do better, but you just blew it away. It was perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for what you do here.
You're welcome.
They said it best, actually. They bring some of our prizes in, or some of our incentives that a lot of the kids have actually used. Some little stress bears and some stickers that they can trace when they're anxious or agitated. Some cards. And we actually brought some. This isn't Joyce's favorite. We gave out this year for box breathing and just as kind of a lift. This was for Valentine's Day with a little message for them. Some emotional support pickle. So we wanted to give everybody an emotional support pickle.
It's in the middle of winter and it feels like a hard time of the school year, and we just thought it was funny and quirky and fun, and people loved it. So.
Hey, thank you.
Put it in your pocket.
Did you mention about the
Thank
workroom?
you.
What you've been doing at the workroom? Did you mention that?
Yeah, we had
We never had a, I don't call it a teacher's room, we never had a teacher's room. And then when we had the addition, the teacher's room used to be this AV room right here, that little space with the photocopiers. And with the addition, we were able to get actually the workspace where there's the photocopier and the laminator and all those things. And they have been decorating that with all kinds of really positive quotes. And the other day I was just going to lock the door and there was a little on the outside of it, just a phrase. It was just a really positive phrase and just really, what are some of the...
We put some pictures up for staff. My plants are in there to clean the air because my children are killing them at home. We put up, I know last year we did elf. They had like little elf names. Everybody would take their name, a little sticky note, put their name, make their elf name. Amanda puts a lot of words of encouragement up in there. There's some interesting facts. I can't remember the amount, but it was the equivalent. What stress is to your body? It's like the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes. Right? It's an interesting. I'll have to send it to you. It is really interesting how. But yeah, just some words of encouragement. We'd like to get some more items in there to kind of make it more comfortable. And then extra leftover prizes that we have. There's a lot of teachers take them for their kids in the class.
This is the greatest thing.
I'm so excited about it. I must say, I've never had such a hairy pickle before.
Well, I mean, I need this because stress. I probably do it like 5 packs a day.
I just really want to thank Jennifer and also Amanda was involved in the planning too, and Alita, because as Alita said, we don't love the public speaking very much here, and so I know this was not an easy thing to do, but our kids do it, and when they got up and talked at graduation and they did their speech, I said, public speaking is a lot of people's #1 fear, and to get up and do it. And so I appreciate these guys coming here tonight. Kelly is the wellness leader.
I am.
in Highgate. And all the schools are involved with the Path to Wellness, and the central office is involved with Path to Wellness, and so.
And Alita's been an amazing mentor for me because I just took over this past year, and the programs you do here are amazing. That she does something every month is fantastic. We aspire to do as much as she does.
Joyce?
Yes, sir?
Did you participate when they used to go for a week to a ski area like Smugs or like school districts had teams and they would go for a week?
No, I would never go any place for a week. I would just go for a week. They have a day meeting, Dawn, that Alita goes to, and I forget the other wellness leaders do too.
Yeah.
It's a day like it used to be at Killington, and then.
Yeah, but it's more sitting and learning more about the program and different things, activities that they're at.
It was quite an activity.
That sounds like fun.
I think Blue Cross, Blue Shield.
I've been to one. Didn't you go?
We went-
You and
we went
Nancy
to one a long
joined
time
us
ago
quite a
when
few
they
years
did,
ago.
yeah.
We had a couple staff members from here.
Yeah, they work on me being well. Alita was thrilled when she finally got me to eat salad.
I drink water.
I'm probably the healthiest person that doesn't ever drink water. Sorry.
Well, thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
All right, that was great, Joyce. We appreciate that. Okay, next we have end of year report, BSC board goals.
Yes, so I am going to kick it off, but we have folks from different departments that'll be sharing our report out on our end of year goals. Tomorrow we have student success that will go a little more in depth in the student data, but we report out on the 4 main areas. Reminding the community, thanks Darren, of our board mission, that our mission is to support students in finding success on any path that they choose, guided by our portrait of graduate, and that we value high expectations for student, staff, community, enthusiasm for teaching and learning, and a culture of excellence. And that is our portrait of a learner, and our board goals are really tied to that district portrait of a learner, supporting our system to develop learners who are knowledgeable and proficient, responsible and independent, among many other things. These are our 4 goals that were set 2 years ago and carried through to this school year. We have a 5-year continuous improvement plan, and our first goal is tied to that. The areas are academic improvement and closing the achievement gap for kids who struggle. Goal 2, really focused on post-secondary outcomes. Goal 3, retention of educational professional staff. And goal 4 was added, speaking to attendance and reducing the number of kids who are chronically truant. So the first goal is that Missisquoi Valley School District will increase the overall achievement of all of our students so that outcomes will continue to improve in accordance with our MVSD continuous improvement plan. As I shared, that's a 5-year plan, and achievement gaps for children who struggle will close. And we have STAR 360 data in reading and math to share our progress there. And Kosha also added our school culture data that comes out of our insight assessment, because that's also part of our continuous improvement plan. So I will kick it over to Kosha.
Great. So I wanted to start off by sharing our reading data, and this is our early literacy, which is kindergarten and first grade data that's collected through STAR 360. And what you see in the graphs is the progress we made from spring last year to spring this year. We saw a slight increase in proficiency from 53.82 to 53.88, or 54%. And 54% of our K-1 students made typical or better growth from fall to spring. And that is one of the areas we really want to focus on, is are all our students growing? And 16% of students on IEPs were also proficient in early literacy. So we are seeing a steady improvement in that. And we want to continue building those early foundational skills in our kindergarten and first graders so that they can be successful as readers. This is something that I'm very, very excited to share with the board. As you all know, we adopted a new reading program this year in K-6, and MVU launched their literacy plan, and we saw a 16% increase in our reading scores from last spring to this spring. So we are very, very excited to see that growth. Even the math coaches were surprised. They're like, usually it takes 3 to 5 years to see this kind of growth. So very excited to see this positive trend. And also we saw 62% of students were showing typical growth in spring. We saw, 64.8% showed growth of 35 percentile or more, which is typical. Again, we saw 20% of our IEP students were proficient in reading in spring of 2025. And this is a demographic group that we are really following very closely. We want to make sure all our students are growing, no matter what category they might be. And so it's encouraging to see that we are seeing proficiency even in students who have been eligible for special education. But I'm really excited to share this data with the board and the community, because I want to acknowledge the hard work that our teachers have done this year. It was a lot of growth for them, a lot of learning for them, and also our coaches, our literacy and math coaches, and all the building principals have done a phenomenal job really encouraging the art program, which is the American Reading Company's core reading program. They have participated every month in professional development, looking at data and really helping teachers to learn this program. So I'm very appreciative of our principals, our coaches, and our teachers for all the hard work that they put in this year. And then in math, we saw a 3% increase from last spring to this spring, which is again a positive trend. We are seeing some grade levels where we aren't seeing the kind of growth that we want. And so we're going to be closely monitoring those grades. In addition, we are adding something similar to what we did in reading, which is a job-embedded coaching, which we found was really supportive of teachers, that while they were in the trenches, they had a coach with that expertise come in and support them. And we are going to do something similar for math next year so that they will get that same kind of support. We also saw a high growth rate. 57.3% of students grew at that typical or high growth, and 19% of our students on IEPs were proficient in math. So we are seeing that proficiency increase in all our subgroups, and that is what we want to make sure continues to happen. Again, I really appreciate our math coaches and all the work that they have been doing to not only help support Tier 1, but also to build the kind of intervention that students would need if they are not meeting proficiency in math. So they have been working with one of our Vermont-based consultants, Christian Quarterman, on really thinking about what are those essential skills that are absolutely critical for a student to master at that grade level in order to move successfully to the next grade level. So very exciting data, and I'm very appreciative of the board for being patient for all these years, but we are now starting to see the impact of all the work that we've done for all these years on our student outcomes.
Don, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm looking at the 57.3, I think locally we're pleased with what's happening, but how does that compare to what the state average is? I mean,
This is not state data, this is our local,
Right.
and this is based on national norms.
Okay, so,
how does
but
it compare?
somewhere there must be other people giving the same assessment, right?
We don't get the data from other districts, but when we say we are seeing change from 53.33% to 56%, that 56.7% is based on national norm data. So compared to our kids are doing as well as 57% of students at their grade level across the nation. And then finally, this is our school climate, and one of the things we had in our continuous improvement plan was really we wanted to increase the sense of safety that our students feel. And so what we are seeing is students across all grade levels, kindergarten to 12th grade, are generally feeling an increased sense of safety in spring compared to fall. And you can see the specific percentages for different grade bands. So kindergarten through grade 3 increased their sense of safety from 74% in fall to 78% in spring. 4 through 6 saw an increase from 60% to 62%. Middle school kind of stayed stable at around 62%, and then high school increased from 52% in fall to 56% in spring. And what is something to notice about this data is the last few years when we were seeing this, we were seeing a drop in their sense of safety from fall to spring, and we are not seeing that anymore. So that's a really positive trend, and it's a goal that we want to continue to work on to make sure that more and more students are feeling that sense of safety when they come to our schools.
It kind of breaks my heart a little bit that half of our high school students don't feel safe. What measures are we taking to increase that? I'd love to see the increase. I think that's wonderful. But to see the national average of 72 and we're at 56.
Yeah, and I just got the national averages yesterday. So when I saw that, I said, okay, there's work to be done.
Yeah.
And so we are going to be working on a plan to how do we increase that sense of safety. One of the things that we have just put into our federal grant is Beth Ann is going to be taking the lead with Up for Learning, which is a Vermont organization that really helps to increase student voice in everything that's happening in the school. So that's one of the initiatives we want to take, and we want to especially have kids from all different gamuts of the school be represented, and not necessarily kids who naturally tend to be leaders. And so, as you know, Beth Ann has been doing a lot of work around teen leadership, but we are really excited. We were at a presentation at the joint conference where we saw different schools that had worked with Up for Learning, and they're the same organization that helped us create our Portrait of a Learner during the pandemic. but they have done some phenomenal work with teenagers around finding their voice, being able to talk in public and plan events that they feel are going to help more students feel that sense of safety and belonging. So we don't want it to just be adult-led, we also want it to be student-led. And so that is one of the big initiatives we are going to put in place next year.
And is this similar to the STAR 360 where we don't have information on neighboring districts?
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. First, I thought it was shocked, because when I interact with people throughout the country, they say, we want to move to Vermont. I would like to come to Vermont. It's a safe place. Okay? And you look at this nationally, and you think of some of the things that's happening in the southern part of the country. And we are 52, and I'm 66, and that's like it's 72. That doesn't mean, I mean, I'm not saying we're bad, but I'm very surprised that adult conversations and newspaper articles and ads come to Vermont saying how safe we are. There must be a different level of safeness or a different definition.
Well, I would also, it's a self-report survey.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the conversations that you have with the students beforehand. So we've had opportunities for our leaders recently to talk to the board heard from Steve last week, a couple weeks ago. And then we've had conversations at Student Success about the small group work that people are doing to develop, norms and understand interactions and sense of safety. And so I think a lot of it has to do with how, it is about how kids are reporting and where they are at that moment and the degree to which they take it seriously and what their it's perception data. So it really is, our hard data says that MVU is a very safe place, particularly compared to nationally and frankly the communities around us. Yet, students' perception, this is a place for us to start to really talk about that and to work with students.
Wouldn't it also have to do with how do you define I feel safe?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
because that could include emotionally safe, that could include physically, that could include like my state of mind. So I would, if you were to dive more into that, I would sort of like to understand what that definition is, because
what it looks like for the kids.
do I feel physically unsafe at school is different than do I feel emotionally unsafe or do I feel vulnerable? Because it's along the lines with do I feel anxious at school, which everyone is just more and more defining that term.
Yes.
So I kind of look at that and I wonder if there's not a piece of that in there. Because I think that and then measuring against actual safety, do I feel like I will be harmed or like they'll harm me or another student, I think is very different. So it's part of like the way I look at that.
I'd like to see it 2 or 3 years from now after we correct the bathroom situation at MTU.
Oh, I completely agree. I know that's one thing, when I met with students a few weeks ago, that was one of the things that they were talking about, is the bathrooms, and they were really excited about the plans that the board has for that to move forward.
Joyce, did you have something to add?
Well, actually, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say it was just my opinion, but I was going to say I think you'll see a big change in that with the renovations to the bathrooms. But also, I had a question on what the rate of return was on the survey, because sometimes I question like how many people filled it out, what grades filled it out. But what Rennick said about what it means I feel safe, because one of the things we did when we started doing this was follow up with the kids afterwards in an anonymous way to try to flesh out a little bit more what they said about different things. And like there was one student who responded didn't feel safe. We scored high on it, feeling safe, but one student that said it was when there's a drill, doesn't feel safe when there's a fire drill with the loud noise and having to leave the building. And so it's not like you're saying, it's really what that perception is when you're answering that question of I feel safe.
And definitely our lowest rate of return of surveys is at the high school level. So this is from the students who responded to the survey, and I can give you exact numbers, I don't have it right now. But based on the students who participated in the survey, this is the data we got. So what we want to see is, are we seeing that improvement? Like I said, all these years we were seeing actually their sense of safety went down in spring compared to fall, which is what we are not seeing. So those are the kind of things we definitely want to keep a watch on, and we want to get more student voice in, because I think that makes a big difference in how kids feel and how they perceive school.
And we shouldn't discount what we're being told here.
Exactly.
Because more people didn't do it. Like these responses are still 100% valid, and still 56% of those respondents don't feel safe like that, or do feel safe, sorry.
Yeah.
So I also don't want to discount this and say like, oh, it's a fluke because not enough people fill it out, or, I mean,
Right.
if the national average is 72, they're still high school students, so they're not getting 100% participation either, so
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Is there a way to get a copy of the survey to see what they're asked?
Yeah.
It literally says, I feel safe in school. Right,
That's
Kosha?
just
That's what the.
It's only one question.
Yeah,
Only one question?
the school
That
climate
question,
survey
yes.
is very small, there's 6 questions. So they're basing the school climate data on a very small survey, but it gives you kind of like a pulse of what people might be feeling. So definitely, like you said, if we saw 70%, we would feel happier than if we saw 50%. And we want to make sure that every year we are seeing improvement in that perception. So positive that we are not seeing the drop in spring that we were seeing previously, but is there room to grow? Absolutely.
And do you know, if you're not discounting it, but just trying to figure out, like, is it certain grades that are saying, like, trying to just delve into the data more? Is there, like, different grades that say that more, like 9th graders, or, you know, like here we saw as people went along, they felt safer as they, like, year after year. Just wondering if, like, 9th graders or 7th graders, or.
I don't think we should ignore it, but if you're only asking one question, and we have data that shows MVU is a safe place, I mean, I don't think we want to overanalyze it either. If we want to get in deeper, we're talking about a feeling of safety. We know the safety rate. We know this is more how you feel, which is hard to measure anyways. And if you're only asking one question, you're not doing a good job of measuring that.
Yeah.
So
It's the culture shift that we're trying
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do
Shift that
have
perception.
to,
yeah.
we do have to combine different sources of data. This is perception data, and then there are, you know, like behavior incidences or bullying
Right.
incidents. We have to combine it with all the other things that demonstrate whether a school is safe. And so this is one data point, but it was something we felt in our continuous improvement plan we want to keep working on, is that all students feel a sense of safety and belonging.
Keep going, Kosha.
That's it from me.
Oh,
Next, I'm gonna go over our post-secondary outcomes, which is that we're looking for improving post-secondary outcomes for students as measured by college enrollment, professional credential attainment, enrollment in apprenticeships, successful employment after graduation, all of which are difficult to measure. But I have a variety of different measurements here that I think are showing a positive trend. This year's senior survey, we had a 95% return rate. They don't get their caps and gown until they fill it out. And it is fresh information. Where we were very proud last year of VSACs was around 75%, which was pretty high for us, a definite increase. But when you've got 95% of the kids saying what they're going to do next fall, it's pretty accurate, it's right present in their mind. Their future plans at graduation is what I'm sharing from these surveys, because they're identical pieces of information. We've been tracking this since 2021, and you can see attend school full or part-time. has increased, and then this year, we only had about 41% of kids that said they were gonna go to school full-time next year or part-time. And you see a larger, if you look at orange to orange, you can see a higher increase of people saying they're entering the workforce, and that's their plan. That is very much year to year. We also have seen an increase in apprenticeships, and we had a few kids entering the military this year, but you can definitely see this particular cohort of kids have increase in kids entering employment.
So just.
I just wanted to tell you more about that coming up, but go ahead.
So that survey, this senior survey, you had the graph at 100% participation. So you're saying about 80% of seniors participated?
No, 95% of kids participated.
Okay.
80% are either going to school full-time or part-time, or they're going to enter the workforce. And then there was a mixture of taking a gap year, don't know, but that's about 20% of other.
Yeah, but just right off the bat, we had a higher rate of
A higher
participation.
rate of participation, yes.
So I remember last year that was.
It was about 75%. Before that, it was even lower.
Okay.
Well, I think the change to say, like in your Catholic gallon or whatever.
That did help, the retention.
It did help.
It certainly did.
That's disheartening. That's really disheartening to see that drop in continuing education.
It's very interesting because that, when we looked at the VSAC data, it's all over the place, right? So people are asked the same questions multiple ways and multiple times. So it really gets a little higher in other questions, but it's the most consistent place.
Not necessarily what.
I mean, that could be reflective of just different choices, or after school and not.
Or
I'm
taking
a
a
higher
gap
ed
year, doing
person. This
employment
is disappointing
first.
to me. My goal as a board member is to increase post-secondary education. I am a huge proponent, and so to see that decrease to me personally, that's disheartening.
Madam, I'm wondering, does any of that include like I'll call it trade school where you would?
Yes,
that would be
absolutely.
apprenticeship,
But
right?
later on, often places where kids have said that they're not going to school, then they say, but they plan to do trade school later. So it's not as it's
because
consistent.
I think there's been a lot of emphasis on, learning the trades as opposed to, that people are getting into debt, for instance, and going to college and so on, and so there's been a lot of, and the needs are greater, but being an electrician or plumber, all those things, I mean, the needs are great, and the return, as far as the amount of money they make is as good as, and sometimes better than someone who's gone, 4 years of college, and and I hear you, I'm not against going to college, I just want you to know that,
No, I know, I'm just.
But I think there's been a lot more emphasis. I mean, you see it all over the place, maybe you shouldn't get in debt, maybe you should do this or do that. And I think, people who want to work with their hands are starting to, lean in that direction.
Cost was one of the things that people reference the most when they
I
said
think
that
that's
deciding
been a big.
Right, have many going to employment first so they can save, or they don't know what they want to do yet, so instead of getting into debt, work first and then go to school. That might be.
And is it only one choice? They pick one? Because I wonder if.
Well, there are many, many questions about this. This one is your future plans right now for the fall. And this is how kids, and it's the same questions, we worded exactly the same as the VSAC survey, so that our data is, kids are getting asked the same question. But you can see that they answer it differently and inconsistently throughout the survey. Which is, we have that VSAC full report in our board student success presentation. I want to just share, for example, these are for the kids who answered that they were going to school next year. Enrolling in a training program, on-the-job training, participating in a registered apprenticeship, obtaining these are kids I said the opposite thing. Career-bound seniors. So for our kids who said they're not going to school next year, Some of them said they were going to enroll in a training program in the military, or they're going to obtain on-the-job training, or they're going to participate in a registered apprenticeship, which was an option for post-secondary education. So, and some of them say that they plan on obtaining a certificate or obtaining a 2-year degree or obtaining a 4-year degree in the future.
So that would be to Elaine's point.
Right. Some of them are going into the workforce first. Many jobs offer opportunities to pay for college. In Franklin County, a lot of industry offers to pay for college. And that's something that we've gone to great pains to share with students.
Yes.
So sorry, this.
But 31% of them don't know what they're going to do.
This pie chart represents the column that's attending school,
Not attending
attending
school next year.
or employment.
Employment next year.
So this is the employment
This is the
breakdown.
career-bound seniors.
Okay, so even within the career-bound seniors, they're just electing, some of them are electing.
Yeah, this is.
You plan to enroll in a school.
In the future, what is your job training plan?
So if they answered they are career bound, they were then asked this sub question.
Okay, all right, I'm just making sure. Because it does speak to what I was saying, that there's nuance inside of that category.
When you think about like tech students who went to like the medical stuff and they graduate high school at LNA, they then can go to the work full time at the hospital, and at the same time the hospital pays them to get their RN. So they're not going to college, they're going to work, but they're going to school at the same time.
Yes. We have a lot of students who go
Yeah.
to those kinds of paths.
So then really of that data, of those who choose to work, who don't necessarily have a path, there's about 30% of them who are not sure what their path is.
Correct.
That's how you would interpret that.
I think we have a good example nearby. It's something that's happening nationally, because what I read is Husky. You go to Husky, you'll get your college.
Yep.
If you want to go to college, get a degree, and you want to take it and grow in their company, they'll make it happen. Now, there are a lot of others too. I think Beta is doing that.
Yeah, a lot of our local
And I think
industry in Franklin County does that.
we saw before, go to college. Now it's going to get a job, go to careers, get a trade. And then, as I say, businesses figuring, let's grow our own. Let's grow our own. Take it at 18, and maybe you don't get your degree until you're 23 or 4. You got it.
It's the balance. I think
is
that should be our goal,
balance.
is balance.
Absolutely. So of students who are college bound, reported their college bound in the fall, 58% of them plan on attending a 4-year college. The 2-year college is about 10 to 12%. A tech, business, or trade school of less than 2 years was about 18%. 10% here were a 2-year college with plans to transfer into the 4-year, like the CCV program does. And then you have some other smaller response areas. And for the type of degree you're pursuing, 67% said a 4 or 5-year degree. A 2 or 3-year degree was about 15%, and 17% was a certificate, an occupational license, or registered apprenticeship, such as that. So again, you can see that people are sort of responding in some areas in a couple of different ways, but really what we're trying to see is that students have a plan that's going to lead to something lucrative and successful for them. Another way that we are measured is by the Agency of Ed as part of our that wonderful annual snapshot that's not always the easiest to understand. But I did want to share with you that this is last year's data, and the year before's data we're being compared to. So it's always a year behind at the state. We were in the not meeting range for college and career readiness, and we've moved significantly up to the approaching range, and we are exceeding in our area of growth in this area. And then the equity index is how are we doing with serving kids who are eligible for free and reduced lunch, have disabilities, and are in other categories that are historically underserved. And that also is an exceeding rate. And I have to say, the work that the guidance department and that MVU and all the aspirations work that that team is using, to show kids about college opportunities, but also other work opportunities, is paying off. Whoops, I'm terrible at the scrolling, especially when it gets so big I can't see the data. So I'm sorry that this is I'm gonna exit full screen, so. No, that's not particularly helpful. I'm going to make sure this is the slide that it's trying to show. And that is showing that we've had an increase of our AP scores for students taking advanced placement exams. Our industry recognized credentials attainment is improving. Our college course completion, that's dual enrollment courses and early college courses, that has increased significantly. Our college enrollment, students that are enrolling in that, has increased. Our proficient score on SATs depends on how many kids take it and how well they did. That 23, 24 was not as strong a year. And then Work Keys is an assessment that students attending the tech centers take. And so that is that's also a high-level assessment. So we are seeing an improvement there. And I wanted to make a significant improvement there. So I wanted to make sure that that was a part of how we're being measured.
So the fifth one, Julie, whoops.
Yes, I will go back to it.
That is people taking SATs and their
Yes,
scores.
and scoring proficiently. I can't tell you what that score is. It's just the state has a bar. We have more kids taking the SAT, and Tyler reported out on that last year. And our average score on the PSAT has increased and is now above the state average. So in this particular cohort of students, there were fewer that met whatever that state bar is for proficient. And Tyler will be able to give us that data, I just don't happen to have it. And she is about to have a baby any minute, so
I guess so.
I am.
So Julie, on that data,
Mhm.
because it looks like the next slide goes into retention.
It does, but I want to, there.
So one of the things, like, because I know we talk about post-secondary outcome, that's just very important to everyone.
Yes.
Like, just regardless. So this shows us a snapshot of
It is a snapshot
the
of intention.
The intention of our seniors and graduates, right? But it doesn't capture really, like, what are their outcomes, like, beyond that. And I know that's difficult,
Right.
but is there not a way to?
I know of no high school in Vermont or anywhere really that is able to capture that post-secondary data outside of that. What we do have is anecdotal information that we can share. And, I'm hoping that JR will do some video series with some graduates that will help. But, what we do have, Tyler shared the list of colleges kids were accepted to and then where they were going. And that list is significant. The number of scholarships our kids are receiving is significant. The kinds of schools kids are getting into are high-tier schools. Not just the occasion, one student, but many students are accepted into some really good schools. That information we do have and can share. So thank you. It's why we do it every year, right? So that we can continue to talk about it, and it is a commitment that the school district has toward increasing opportunities for our students. Because the whole purpose is for them to have a successful life when they leave us.
And is there, of like the graduating class, that portion that have no plans or potentially don't even potentially graduate or whatever it is, like, is that number diminishing, or is it?
Well, take a look at that. And look, it's really tricky because it's self-report data, and sometimes I feel when we have 95% of our kids telling us that they're not sure what they're gonna do, that percentage is a little more accurate than when 60% of kids fill out a survey, right? I think that typically the kids who report that have a plan are the ones who are gonna fill out a survey. Where if they don't have a plan, they're probably like, I don't need to fill this out, right? So the more complete that data is, the better it is for us to be able to see.
When I heard the high percentage last week, I thought, that's really great. And I thought, I don't know what happens, but when the students come back in September, I think that the seniors were told in April or May, we're going to be asked some of these questions. We don't answer them today, but plant a little seed in their minds that there's an expectation that they'll start thinking in some direction.
Well, they talk about these things with their guidance counselor, with their
Starting in middle school.
They really do.
Have
I'm
already
not saying
started.
not start there, but remind them when they come to the senior.
Well, and the fact that we share information about it publicly, I think is very important.
Well, they do. I mean, if what is it, the apprenticeship fair that MVU had, that was open to 7th and 8th graders, and that was a really good event. It was just a really good event, and I would almost like to see that sort of merge with a college fair at the same time. We just keep growing it, because it's really good at that level, so 7th, 8th grade, to just be exposed to that, know the opportunities are there. So I think there's a lot of positive things.
So, Bonnie?
Yes. So our third board goal is to increase retention of our professional staff, which for the 4th year in a row we have. So we are up to a 90% retention rate for our professional staff district-wide. It's like Highgate went down a little bit this year, but that's hard because they're a small school. So just even losing a couple of people affects that number. But Swanton increased significantly this year, and the hiring was done early for them, which is our first time in a couple of years that we've had our next year's professional staff hired before this year's leave. So that's really good, exciting stuff. So I'm hopeful that we will go up even more next year.
I see one person retired from Franklin. Really, Joyce? You have someone new?
I know. They're gonna come back in a year though.
Don't worry.
1 year off, and then I said they could come back.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to get them to sign.
We're sure it's on her calendar. The teacher and I have placed bets on what time of day she's gonna call. So we will see. She tried to talk her out of it. It didn't work.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
I've never known you not to try to talk somebody out of it.
Timing's just never good.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of retirements this year. We have a couple at MVU as well. A couple of really long-term teachers at MVU that we're really sad to seek out. So we are on a really positive trend district-wide for our retention. I think it's pretty impressive how much it has gone up since FY22. And so we track it, we do surveys, we do exit interviews, we do really trying to push that stuff out there. We were trying to do roundtables. This year was really difficult because the union did a listen and learn tour. And from some things I read, it looks like the NEA was doing that statewide maybe with the listen and learn tours, and you don't want to do kind of survey burnout with people and ask them so many questions at the same time. So I tried something new with doing just a survey at the end of the year. Jury's out on if I like that or not. I'll have to really dig into it a little bit and see if I liked that method. I prefer to be in person with people and actually talk to people than to be a robot, but we'll see how that works. Hopefully next year, we have a great relationship with our union, so I'm hoping next year, we've already talked about how could we team up, how could we get the information we both want in a way that allows, that makes people comfortable to talk to us about it. And this is by school, you can't see the bottom.
It's just the way it's sharing, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
The first one is Franklin.
Yeah, I think it's in alphabetical order.
It
so I
is
think
Franklin,
I'm good.
Ivy, MVU, and then Swan.
So when we have one person each year retiring or leaving Franklin, it keeps Franklin at a pretty steady number. Highgate did go up slightly this year. Again, it only takes one person. Same thing with the MVU went down. Swanton was the really has had a really steady incline. So I think that that's really good, and look forward to seeing how that keeps going. I think we are on a really positive trend for professional staff. I would love to start focusing a little bit more on our support staff. We had a really good response with our contracts. So from the number of contracts given to the number returned, it was a 95% retention rate. The problem is not that retention, but the attrition rate through the year. So, how many people you have that start on September 1 of this year versus how many of those people are coming back on September 1 of the next year. That's the number that I would like to focus on more next year. I think we're doing really great things with teachers, and I think putting some focus on retaining our support staff also helps retain our teachers. It's also, it makes their lives easier, the more hands on deck. When they're short-staffed, when we're short-staffed of support staff, our teachers really feel it. So I think putting some more emphasis on retaining our hourly employees will really have an impact on the rest of our teacher retention as well. And that's good because we're coming into a negotiation year next year. So.
Have you ever charted how many of our, I call them support staff, live in one of our 3 towns? Because I would guess that we have a higher rate of number of employees who live in our 3 towns than we do professional staff.
I can think off the top of my head a lot. Like, I don't have a number, but
That'd be good to hear what you get when you focus on that.
Kelly, can I have you? Kelly's one of our union reps as well, so.
Well, I used to be, I stepped down from that, but, so, yeah.
Have you ever charted that, or, I think there's a vast number of people that live.
I mean, they're generally, the support staff are usually local, more local than the teachers, so I couldn't give you numbers though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think this is really great because as a board, we came together a few years ago. It was probably the first year on that chart, or maybe even the one before that. And we made a conscious effort to make that a goal for the district, and obviously Julie and the staff are what made that happen. But it's nice to see that we as a board can set goals and achieve them, and obviously we also had a part in the negotiations. We made that part of trying to have teacher retention. So I think this is a really positive thing for the district because we had a really hard time retaining teachers there for a while. So I think this is really great, Bonnie, so thank you.
I have to thank Bonnie for how much outreach she does with teachers directly to ensure that she knows what the issues are and works to address them with our administrators. So a big part of what you do. And there's days where you really feel it.
Well, I also think though that sometimes I just do like some informal chats with people from who had used to work for MVSD and went maybe to Franklin Northeast or some other school district, and they have all said the professional development, that we provide here at MVSD, so much they do, the mentorship, all those things. They realize how much. Well, I hate to say it, but I don't mind saying it, but I don't want to put another district down, but they felt that our district was, just offered more, that they just did so much more, and I think some of them had some regrets.
I think the word you're looking for was better.
I was trying to be polite.
Do I say my empire calls?
You know, not to rain on this parade, but isn't it unfortunate that this area really did the unification that came out 4 years ago. Well, 3 towns coming together, a 9-member board working together, no competition or animosity, staff that all work together. And now the legislature says we want to blow that up and do something else. Hopefully we won't let it get blown up too much, but you know, 9 members around the table is a pretty good sized group, when most of us had 3 or 5. But we've learned to do it and do it well. And I'm sitting here and I say, hopefully we can build on this, but hopefully they'll let us build on it and not become one of 10,000 people that nobody knows the kids. It's good.
So the last goal was an attendance goal that we added 2 years ago. And we're really looking at the number of students who are at high risk of chronic truancy and who are in that range. Overall, our daily attendance rate for the year, we began really strong at 96, almost 97%. We ended the year really strong at just about 96%. It dips, the lowest it dips in January and February, and you know why. It's cold, it's dark, everybody's sick. And everybody was sick. It's how it is. But the lowest it got was still over 90%, which is definitely improvement over several recent years. This is absence by day, so looking at 10, 20, I'm so sorry about the way he's trying to make it big enough so you can see it, and then it cuts everything off. Derek, could you make it not full screen? I know that sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not helpful. That didn't help at all. But this is 110 days over here, right? So there's always, right, you can just see that we've got people in the 10, the 20, the 30, the 40, right? But then once you get in the 50s, it drops off significantly, and the green year is this year. So you can see the trend. And we've got fewer and fewer people. So the next thing that's interesting is to look at the numbers of kids falling into the different truancy risk categories by school. So again, the most recent year, 2025, this is data she entered it Monday. This year, you can see is the green. You can see reduction in kids who are absent from 5 to 10%, a decrease in the number of kids who are absent between 10 and 20% of the school year, and a slight decrease in the severe, more than 20%. It's a lot of days. But we still have some, and I just want to share, and I thought Celine did a nice job at the Student Success Committee when she talked about all of the things she does with the families that fall into these categories. We all work on kids that are in the at-risk category. Celine spends a good deal of time working for kids in the chronic and severe, and with families. But you can see that is a decrease. Highgate Elementary, you can see as well a decrease in most areas. Again, when we're talking severe, we're talking like 2 to 5 kids and families, so it's pretty volatile from year to year, but it's very small numbers of children and families in that category. Here's Franklin's data, also looks wonderful.
Kids would not dare stand.
And
Joyce knows where they are.
I visit.
She does. And again, at MVU Middle School and MVU High School. I think one of our biggest issues is for kids at the high school level who are very disengaged, and that's where a lot of the work is. It's trying to get kids to understand that education has a purpose for them, and that's a lot of the work we're trying to do with different alternatives for kids, a little more hands-on opportunities. I thought that young man in field studies presentation, we couldn't have given him a script that
Yeah,
was
that's
better.
great.
When he said, I didn't like school, I didn't go to school, now I come every day, right? So I think that
That was
expanding
great.
those, I honestly, it's like somebody slipped him a note.
Yeah, it
But it was from the heart, which
It was
made
so
it
exciting to hear
really
it, though.
impressive. So expanding those opportunities are really what we're trying to do over time. So it's really good data in attendance. We spend a lot of time, we have a district committee that works on, looks at trends and gets together and talks about intervention. Last year we did a whole campaign with videos every month that went out to families. Guidance counselors and classroom teachers call kids, families and say, gee, we missed you, like at all levels of the system, we make sure. And those meetings with families when things are getting difficult are really powerful and instead of punitive. So just a quick overview of all areas. Academics are trending upward. More seniors are graduating with a plan, and our performance on post-secondary outcomes is improving at a high rate. Teacher retention has moved from a low of 77% to a high now of 90%, and we are seeing a decrease in chronic absenteeism. And I think that's pretty positive. I did get, and Derek put this together, so you have a PDF of this, just sort of a shortcut.
So could you,
This,
just being conscious of time, 'cause
Yeah.
we still have a few things to get to.
we certainly do.
So our board goal, our board retreat is set for July 16th.
Mhm.
And a printout of this would be great.
It's in your drive.
Yeah, or bring your drive or however it is. So we can look at it. We have a few things to talk about. Do we need to change anything? Do we just keep everything on the same trajectory? More broadly, I think we need to think of what can we affect in the time before potential changes. So this kind of data I think will be good to sit down and look about when we actually talk about our goals and some of that. So thank you. That's excellent, Julie. It's a really good job.
I know it's a lot of it, but you have
Yeah.
a lot of goals. So we try to ensure that we're reporting out in small ways throughout the year, but this end of year sort of report, and it's a nice way to end the year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Kosha, Bonnie, and everyone.
I would like to make one additional comment. When I talked about the professional development, mentorship, and so on, I failed to mention that I also would like to commend Kosha, because she also is, been a valuable member of our staff and has done a lot in the sense of helping teachers, and I think she has been helpful in the teacher retention as well, I guess is my point. And I really like to commend her because I hear all the time how fabulous she is, and I just think it's worth noting.
Thank you, Grant. Okay, so next item we have the Highgate Space White Building use. We discussed this briefly at the Facilities Committee meeting, which EEI also put on for that, and it did come up, sort of like plans for the white building, and just wanted to add on here an informational for anybody who's interested in finding out sort of the reason. I know this will happen over time, but I don't know if Laura or Peter, you want to sort of walk through what the plan for the white building is and the Highgate additional space?
Additional space.
Oh, additional space. Yes, so I'll start. It's been several years that the board has been examining engineering reports, architects who have come through and looked at that building and have been very clear to the facility committee and to administration that investing further dollars in that building is not an effective use of funds. And the board made the determination many years ago to take care of the building nominally but not make investments. We then moved a few years ago to move the students that were there out of the building, because without we've got a roof on it, we make sure that it's dry and heated, but we're not putting in new windows. All of those things need to be replaced. We're not able to regulate the air. We're not able to control the heat remotely. All the things we need to do to maintain it well so that it's a safe space for students. At this point, we have 8 people that are in that building with offices and supporting students. They're walking across to go and sit by themselves or in a small group in the white building. And without further investment, we made the determination that now is time to make room for them within the brick building. We have a plan for that. We are planning to, and Kelly is here, I think, because we are going to be building a wall in the back of the library with making 3 student support spaces there. That we can do over the summer with just local funds that we have now. It's not a large investment. We talked about that at the facility committee. And then the next stage of that, where we would want to maybe put in some walls, create a corridor, we would probably need some engineering, minimal engineering, but still we wanted to, that's a phase 2. But right now we have a plan for every employee to have a space that is productive and helpful for the work that they do. That is the plan. Staff have been notified. We will be using the building, continue to use it for storage and for other reasons, but not as a place that employees are regularly there. We're moving the after-school folks out as well. Laura, I'm sure you have other things to add.
Not really, other than just to clarify that it was a draft schematic that has gone out to staff. Obviously, there's still conversations to be had. We're very confident, as Julie said, that there is space for everyone. Obviously, it was being student-focused being the most important, but there may be some tweaks and changes to that as Justina comes in. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Jason and I will be meeting with her starting in July.
So is the plan to have them all in?
Yeah, all 8 folks will be in the brick building.
And the white building would be used for storage.
As a facilities committee member, I support that plan wholeheartedly, and one of the main reasons is school safety. The more opportunities for students to walk unattended or somewhat supervised between buildings, whether it's good weather or bad weather. There's always a safety issue. We can't control who's on the walking path. We can't control who's over the neighboring facilities. So I think to keep all of our students in one building and all of our personnel in one building is a safety issue as well as an educational issue.
It's not an airtight building. We have been fighting mold. We've been fighting all kinds of things in that building.
Every mechanical system has failed or is failing in that building. Life safety systems are non-existent. ADA compliance is not a thing that exists there. So you're talking about at least $3 to $4 million minimum to get that building even close to code, which is.
I think we also know that if you follow the local news, it looks like there could be a real housing boom coming to Highgate.
Yes.
Some of the things that are happening over at the airport. And if that happens, you'd have to add on the current building anyway.
Right.
So-
Rather than build to remodel a
something,
failing
and then
building.
say, oh, as a taxpayer, if even though I have property that I don't live there, if we put money in the white building and then 2 years from now they say, wow, we don't have enough money for using that, I would kind of say, who was asleep at the wheel?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this didn't happen overnight. This building has
This has been like 5
failing
years.
since I've been on the board. It hasn't been in good shape, and as a board member, a taxpayer, I can't. It does not make financial sense to put money into that building. It's still going to be an old building, no matter what we do to it, and it's and they showed us it's going to cost millions just to get it to where it's viable, and we certainly can spend money in better places and get better value for that.
I think it's important to mention too that we've been looking at that, the facility committee's been looking at all of that also. Obviously, money and funding is the next step, but
Yeah.
for over probably 2 years now, we've been working with EEI on different phased approaches, different rooms for space, so all of that is still on the table and being discussed.
Jay, did you have a?
Well, it's an interesting subject because the proceedings that took place in the legislature this year, as I'm sure a lot of you know, revived capital debt service. And so there's a committee that's been formed to approve or disapprove capital debt or capital projects. I was just wondering if maybe the board might be in their best interest to make accommodations in the brick building at Highgate for the students and for all the rest of the people that are using the white building on the premise that you would be actually closing one of the school buildings. So there might be an argument that you could make that would access the 30% capital debt service. I mean, I'm just saying, if you had a bigger scope, if there's some things you want to address in the elementary school at Highgate, you can incorporate it into a project where you might end up with 30% capital debt service. There was talk, by the way, to increase the capital debt service to 40%. And that may come as they move forward on the miscellaneous bill this week.
Yesterday. So I have talked with Peter, and I believe the desire is for us to launch another RFP, one that does not require payment. So asking if anyone would just like to use it. I'm not sure how we're going to award that, but we can work through the particulars.
And a couple ideas on how to award it. Obviously, it's in the town of Highgate, it's in there, so if somebody from the town of Highgate bid on it, I would think we would give them priority over other towns, or if nobody from Highgate and it's somebody from Franklin or Swanton, we would look at that first. After that, yeah, we'd have to come up with a way to draw a name out of a hat, but I don't think we're gonna get that many bids.
Do we have some inquiries? Do we have inquiries?
We had one prior to launching the RFP. I think it's tricky because it rained for months and then it stopped. So farmers are now actually getting the tractor. Yeah, so I think it's tricky. I also think they're not necessarily used to replying in writing to a RFP. But this allowing access to this land and being fair and equitable to people who may have desire in using the land is part of what we were trying to accomplish with. To be transparent, yeah. So we just want to make sure we stick to that.
And I told them that it was going to be in the local newspaper, but if you want to access that to call you, I think what Peter said is good, but I'm going to contact that farmer and say, you expressed an interest in me in buying the hay on that land. When people thought we were going to brush hog it. Don't brush hog it, it's all good. And so I'll talk with him once more.
So the farmers may be looking at it too, like knowing past history. It's like if you don't know the land, sometimes you don't know what you're getting into. Like you don't know where the rocks are. You don't want to damage your equipment either. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with this property.
No rocks at all.
But
There's absolutely no basis for saying that.
But I think if they have less risk, that they would be more willing to do it. I mean, it helps us, right? It keeps the property clear, and we get to feel like there's value in what grew there, right? It gets used to feed dairy cattle or whatever, or horses. So hopefully we can rebid it and get some interest.
So do we need a motion? Who would like to make a motion?
We don't have anything to award right now.
Oh, that's right, we took it off.
Right,
Okay.
but we definitely will, if there's an award in the future, we'll bring it.
Okay. SRO discussion, action. Oops, sorry. Julie?
So I have put together a little written proposal. Laura and I met with Chief Sullivan. You had expressed an interest in bringing back an SRO position to the table as for the elementary schools to share. And we investigated that, and then we came to you with the idea that we could possibly do it through a grant. And no, it's online too, but I wanted to make sure board members had it in front of them while I talked through. And so we discussed this with Chief Sullivan. The COPS grant, which is the grant that usually supports police departments, apply for it. And it's what we've done in the past to support Dean at MVU. And now at this point, there is no more grant funding for that. It's not very much. It's about $120,000 over 3 years. You get $40,000 a year. It's really, it's a grant that involves a lot of administrative oversight and management. And so a lot of police departments are no longer applying for this grant because it really doesn't turn out to be much value for them. So I wanted to bring this to you because our previous vote was about the grant and looking into it. So I'm going to share with you what.
Are you saying
they're not going to apply for that grant?
They're just not going to apply for it?
Correct.
It is available, it's just they won't apply.
They're not going to apply for it.
Okay.
Their proposal to us is that they would fund the position 100% the first year. So because FY26 is already budgeted, this is not a part of our budget. Their fiscal year runs from December to January, or January to December versus ours. They have some vacancies. He's spoken with his village manager, and they feel really confident that they can do that for us. And that would be the first year. And then after that, we would put into next year's budget the expense of this. We would obviously work as a board and administrative team to offset that cost with other savings, apply other grant funding that we have access to, but I would not expect us to apply for, well, we can't apply for a COPS grant for that purpose. Anyway, we discussed that last time. But we may be able to use some Medicaid funding to offset the cost, those kinds of things that we'll discuss. Because I know that is important to this board, that it isn't an ad, but it would be a substitution of something. And they do have a few part-time officers who are interested in potentially doing this and coming full-time, so that if they were doing this work instead of the other work, there would be training involved. Because that's one of the reasons why they have the funds to do this, is that police vacancies are a lot harder to fill. It takes many years for people to become officers and to go through all that training. It's a very long process. A lot of people who enter it don't succeed and come out the other end. So it's a very long process. So this would benefit, they really feel that this would benefit both the school and the Swanton Police Department. We've talked about the reasons why the board brought this to our attention, and that the administrative team talked about this a few years ago, that there's a security and safety aspect, as well as positive relationships and proactive engagement with students. I think Dean speaks to that very well, about the number of students that he can intercede with before trouble happens. Those are some of the things that don't make it into the data reports, but that there's a lot of work that is done there, and that it would expand our commitment to safety throughout the district. You can see it's an expensive position because you've got experienced officers, you have their benefits package, their benefits go up just like our benefits are going up. And the professional development, all of the things that go into the benefits,
That's just not
et cetera.
salary, that's
Right,
all the
it's all of the benefits, et cetera. But that, I wanted to be very clear, is an estimate and probably an average. He was, Laura was with me. He was trying to model it based on average salaries in the department and benefit costs. But that's essentially what it would look like. So it's not an inexpensive decision. So that's why I'm not moving forward with this unless the board says, we are whole hog in favor of this, because we're talking about people changing their employment status. Also, we would obviously create some kind of agreement with the department for a number of years. Given what we all have facing us, it would probably be 3 years that we could do. More than that, I don't know that we would be able to commit to, but we would want there to be some kind of stability. We don't want to do a thing that we can't continue.
And if we move forward with something like this, there's still space to, discuss which school, when, scheduling, all that.
Oh, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
That all happens.
The
at some point.
administrative team discussed this last time we were entertaining this before COVID hit. I think it was before COVID. And we had planned, a rotation between the 3 schools. And there'd be planned visits, and then there would be, just drop-in things, and as well as the ability for any principal to reach out and have a person that knows their school well and can support them in difficult conversations or decisions that they have to make.
So the motion would be to move forward with the proposal for the school resource officer. Right.
What's the
If
commitment?
the board is,
Well, it looks like it would be a
3-year.
3-year commitment with the financial overview estimated cost.
One of the
They
questions.
show for.
I think the first year's
The first year they cover.
So we are committing to
So we're
4 years.
well, this is what
We
it
just
would
aren't
likely
paying
be.
for it.
I don't know that we, that
Yeah,
we
that's what I'm
can't.
saying, I don't know what we wanna commit to here.
Anything over a year has to have a non-appropriation clause anyway, so that if budget doesn't pass or you don't have the funding, you can withdraw from the contract.
Done?
One thing in his proposal, I didn't see anything for cost for travel. Because they're gonna come to Franklin, they're gonna go to Highgate, it's not like the current police department, it's just up the street. You'll Swan School or MVU. So apparently they're gonna absorb that, or is that gonna be an additional
I'm
cost?
sure that it would be discussed in the contract, which we would discuss, before we move forward with a formal contract,
If
we
you
would
look
bring
at
that to the
this,
board. But they did throw out, could the school district buy us a car? And I said, no, school, we can't do that, right? So we acknowledge that there will be, because if we bought a car, then it would be our car, and then it couldn't be a police car, so,
The school board car?
simple logistics like that. We're not able to use school district funds in that way. But I'm sure there will be some kind of mileage
So,
within reason.
which would ramp that up
yeah.
$5,000 to $10,000.
So without parsing every detail of this, basically we're absorbed, we're paying for it for 3 years, and then we have to figure out all the details, but there is a possibility if like a budget doesn't pass or something that we can,
Yes, any kind of long-term contract is a non-appropriations clause.
so I think the decision for board is like, this is, we would be paying for this. This has been discussed multiple times as something that potentially we feel that is needed. And so this is the point where administration needs to know if we want to move forward with it or not.
We need a motion, right?
Yep.
I'll make the motion that we accept the proposal for a school resource officer at the MVSD elementary schools.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
All right. Discussion?
I'm not comfortable with the 4 years. We've never, I know we have it in the high school, middle school. We haven't done this, and I was one of the ones supporting, because I know Swan has a need there. But I'd like to be able to see, like, I would commit to the 2 years, because they're paying for the first year, and then we would show our commitment by paying for the second year. I would fully think that if everything is going well, that we would support it moving on, but I don't like being tied to a 4-year commitment, something that we haven't done yet.
Does that necessarily have to be the case, or can that be adjusted? So that can be adjusted, whether we,
It's really about, for me, I need to go back to Chief Sullivan and say, so, the board approves it, however, should, what you're saying, let's see some nodding heads, right? So if the board is saying, but we feel comfortable doing a 1 year you pay, 1 year we pay, do you feel comfortable with that? Because he may say, that's I don't know that the employees may not want to do that if they don't have a guarantee or more of a guarantee, obviously. But that becomes the next step in the conversation.
so you could go back and say, because realistic too, you could say, we feel comfortable up to year 3, just because year 4, there's a lot that could change. Right? So we could say, we could work out something, negotiate something up to year 3, and then bring that back. That's something that you could do.
Absolutely.
Would that make that more feasible for you, Peter?
Yeah, more than 4 years. We just have to make an amendment.
Well, we didn't amend. We just,
The motion just says
the
move
motion is
forward.
to move forward with the proposal for school resource officer. It's not determining
We're
exactly
not
how.
signing
I
a
think this is
contract
an
here.
example, this isn't the contract.
Right.
Right, but at the same time, we have to, if we
So
don't
it's gonna-
say what we're comfortable with in a
Yeah.
number of years,
Exactly.
we could just say we're moving forward, then a year later we go, oh,
Sorry, and that's not who we want to be with our partners.
He's gonna want a number
Right.
of years,
Right.
I don't,
Right.
so, I think we have to make some type of, it has to be included in the motion, where we have to make some type of commitment to 2, 3 years, whatever it is the number is, I think it has to be included, otherwise.
We also have to give room to negotiate. So I think negotiation up to 3 years and then see what they say, because they can come back with something different.
Well, up to 3 years, I don't know, what that means to me is, it could be 2 years.
Well, I'm just trying to keep this simple from the sake that we're
Right, I
still
know,
trying
but
to
I
work
mean-
out.
We
know now we have to pay for it. There's not going to be completely grant funded. So we are absorbing some costs. So the board has to simply decide, do we want to move forward with some sort of a proposal to be worked out with them? And we could have some sort of cap or limitation that we can indicate.
Well,
hey,
can't we just fail this? There's a motion on the floor, so it needs to be voted on one way or another. If we say no to this, then there can be a follow-up motion to move forward with negotiations.
Or a friendly amendment if you wanted to change your
Sure.
motion to say for 2 years or 3 years or something.
Okay.
But that's up to you because you made the motion.
I don't see how that has to be a different motion. Because we're just.
Well, it doesn't have to. I mean, she just said I
Got
can
a
do that.
motion on the floor, you gotta deal with it.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm happy to make a friendly amendment, but I want to know what that should be.
3 years. 3 years.
It is, right?
That's it. I mean,
Not
I'm a little
here 3 years
feisty
from
today.
now.
Notice my bear.
So, proposal for a school resource officer to be negotiated with a maximum of a 3-year contract.
Maximum of one,
3.
3 years.
We went from 4 to 2.
Does this person who seconded support the friendly amendment?
Yes, I will support the friendly amendment.
Okay, so we're going to amend and we're gonna cross off this year 4. And then we're going to be left with us, a motion to move forward with the proposal as updated, so it's year 1, 2, and 3.
And I don't want to amend it, but while you're going back to the chief, I'd like to request that he give an estimation of what travel costs would be.
I made a note of that.
Sure.
You've made a note of that, thank you.
Thank you.
Will it come back to us when there's a contract?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, we gotta approve that.
It's the kind of thing that in future years, like you don't see the SRO contract now, but it's when you're doing a new one, the board would approve that, and then I would likely do them moving forward.
Can I answer the question?
That's a
My
yes.
question would be to Joyce, since we have her here with us, feeling that could possibly be an SRO in your building. I don't know how often, we would be here, they would be here in Franklin, but I'm just curious.
I think when we talked about it, it was certainly the things that Julie mentioned about having somebody to talk to that knows our students, knows our building, knows the staff, developing those positive relationships with kids before they go to middle school and high school, just building that. And obviously, in a crisis situation, having somebody that we could, or just to talk a problem over. I think all the administrators were in favor of it, as I recall.
Okay, good. Because I didn't know, being the younger kids, we're used to it now in the high school level, and we understand the need for it in the Swanton area. And not that we're, blind to weapons or anything, but having an officer with a gun on their side, it's could be intimidating for the younger aged students. So just,
I think we talked about trying to develop that relationship where they wouldn't be afraid.
Right. Exactly. No, and that's the same.
That's
That's
the
good.
point there, that they're not afraid, they know it's somebody that can help them and coming in and just talking to classes and maybe reading to kindergarten or whatever it might be like that.
So Joanne, Parrott, and I did receive communication from someone that is very concerned and upset that they don't want to have a resource officer in our school.
Yes.
So I don't know if anyone else has gotten any kind of communication, but, and I think it was over having a weapon in the school. They felt it was not the place where that should be. So that's out there.
My concern is just making that financial commitment. I don't have a concern with I think it would be great, say, to have a resource officer, and so I don't have an issue with that. I just worry about the financial commitment because of where things are at.
Where things are. Yep.
I mean, we're just, it's just not in a good place, and I'm
But if
nervous.
we have
I'm nervous about it.
If we have the
Non-appropriation.
what she said.
Yes.
And so if there is an issue where,
can't.
Worst case scenario, we cease to exist, this district, we're obviously, we're not committed to that. Or if the budget fails, or any of those other, if there are any major changes, I think that's what's keeping me feeling comfortable, is that we're not stuck with this if these changes happen. There's a way out, and I feel like that protects us. And I worry that if we don't do the 3 years, it's not going to be appealing for any of the officers.
Oh, yeah,
because
I
2
agree
years.
with you. I agree with you. It has to be.
But the thing
It
is
has to
that
be.
I feel for anybody to sign a contract with us, for just what you said.
Yeah,
because
no, you're
we're
right.
not committed to anything. Like, who wants to sign up for that?
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't
did
know what
talk
it's gonna
about that
look
with the chief, right? Because I think they still see it as a benefit, because they've had a lot of people leave the profession and then they think they want to come back, or they have gone to part-time, and they might want to go back to full-time if there was this kind of an opportunity, because it's invigorating their love of the work in a different way than doing a lot of paperwork to make court cases stick, which is, not always why you get into the profession.
We do talk about, just like any other position, though, that it really a lot depends on who it is. that
Absolutely.
is in the position.
The only thing I'll add is that there's a financial cost, yes, but when it comes to do you feel safe, when it comes to school safety, I would never want to be in a position where we had an ability to do something like this and we did it. And looking back and thinking, oh, we should have done that. Swanton is growing, Highgate has the potential to grow, like Franklin. I think it would be good to have additional support here and there. And SROs, it's not just security, they're also another person, another adult in the school. They develop relationships, they can help out. So I think overall, this is a good thing. And there are objections that people can have, but at the same time, I think overall, we've been talking about this, and I think it adds more benefit anything else.
And I also think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
The person being selected for this job, are we gonna be part of the interview process, or is that something that we are told this is who it's gonna be based on the chief and?
Typically, we have administrative involvement, so, and it's limited in terms of who, you know, it's who applies and is trained, et cetera. But typically, we have an administrator that's a part of any selection process so that they feel comfortable as well. We wouldn't have anybody that our administrators didn't feel comfortable. That's a great question.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. So I'm gonna call it. All in favor for the proposal for a school resource officer with an initial limit of 3 years, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstain?
I'm gonna abstain. I just don't know what to do.
Okay. Motion will carry 8-0-1.
Thank you.
All right.
So, we're moving through.
Professional hires, Bonnie, 1 minute. New professional hire?
Julie does, that's why I was.
Julie doesn't, she's confused. We have 3, one I just met today, so we were moving fast and furious. The first is Courtney Lepore, and you're gonna tell me if I say their name incorrectly, who will be an elementary teacher replacing Emma Holcomb at Highgate. We have Chelsea Van Slat, who is going to be a special educator at MVU, replacing a teacher who's retiring after many, many years. And today I met Deborah Rossman, who's an experienced science teacher. She's taught in many places in Massachusetts and in Vermont, and is looking forward to coming back to rural Vermont with her family and teaching science at MVU. So we are excited about all 3.
Can I have a motion to approve the new hires?
I'll move it.
A second?
Second.
Are any of these local?
Gosh, I think
Local,
Chelsea
Chelsea
might
lives
be.
in St. Albans, so, but this would be her first professional teaching job.
And how are there have you filled all your positions, or you still have a few?
No, we still have a couple of MVU positions open.
Swanton's finished, Highgate is finished, Franklin is finished.
So like
I think we have 1 or 2.
so you filled your SLP position?
Well, we filled a SLP position, which was one more than we thought we would fill this year, so.
No, I agree.
We filled
That's
one of the
great.
2.
Yeah, so we still have 1 vacancy
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
but we have a
Still
backup
better
plan.
than we were.
Yeah,
It
and we
is.
have a solid backup plan for that.
And what-
We have a high school math teacher that it would really be nice if we could fill that high school math teacher.
Yeah, that really.
Then we'll be in a good place,
Definitely.
without a plan B that we have to discuss.
All in favor of the new professional hires, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0. So next we have our board retreat at the Abbey, we have a board meeting at 5:30, correct, Julie, right before?
Yes.
Okay. Future board meetings, draft FY26.
So, given the time, I don't think we should go through this. But one of the things, and I'm seeing, yeah, we could go month by month and discuss. But I do think we want to discuss some of the months, whether do we move it to the 1st and 3rd? Do we just have 1 board meeting on that month when there's a school vacation? You know, do we have back-to-back in the middle of the month rather than 1 month to the next? I just think there's a little bit more work to do that because it gets tricky to know when the board meeting is, when there's at least 3 or 4 months that we need to switch it. I mean, it's all for good reasons.
Yep.
We've tried 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 4, 2 and 3. So I do have one thing before we adjourn. And if Jay had not been here tonight, I would have brought it up under agenda review, but I knew he would do it better than I would, so I left it alone. But I think we need to keep that on our agenda because what I'm reading from VSBA and the Alliance, there will be some opportunity to kind of give input on to how we want to join.
I'm sorry, keep what on the agenda?
the whole idea of what Jay brought up tonight with the new legislation, where we.
Moving to an SU.
Moving to something. Yeah, I'm not saying it's an SU or whatever, I'm just saying, chances are we aren't gonna be just 9 happy campers with 3 schools. We're gonna be something else, and I just think that we should just keep following it and talking about it.
Wouldn't that just be part of our legislative updates?
Well, I don't care what you wanna call it, legislative updates is fine, but I just think that we can either be proactive and have a position and be ready to have it articulated by Julie, or I guess business manager's gonna give input too on certain parts of it, or we can wait and they'll do it up to us and we'll say what happened. So that's all I said, just saying, I think we should keep it on the agenda.
Well, I mean, that in and of itself is a whole topic, right? For us to actually dive in and discuss. First of all, making sure everyone understands the difference between an SU and an SD and the types and the variations and the implications, and then
We can't go north. Well, we could, maybe we all will. But we could
We'll move to Canada.
But what I'm,
we could go east or west.
but what I'm just also saying fundamentally is just breaking down those differences so all the board members know, and then deciding like what we can and can affect. But I think based on how things are, I think we're going to have many opportunities to discuss this.
I hope so.
So, yeah.
Peter?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I say one more thing
Yeah.
before we adjourn? Sorry, I was gonna throw that in, but I know what you wanted. I just would like to publicly congratulate the boys varsity baseball team.
Thank you, yes, oh my
And
God.
I just wanted to know. I know sitting there in the stadium, I think a lot of us were there, but it was just the energy from our community was just astounding and just it was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was.
Well, it's the
So-
boys' turn this year.
Yeah,
Last
that's
year.
pretty awesome. So just wanted to.
And I just want to thank, because you said that, I want to thank Bill Sheets for organizing the
parade
Celebration.
and the
Yeah.
celebration and the state police stopped the boys' bus and, gave them heck. It was very cool.
And he did that for the girls the year before.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
it really was.
That was awesome. So.
I see your hand, but we're about ready to adjourn. So.
Yeah. There's already a motion.
I know I said,
I'm like-
see your hand, we haven't voted to adjourn yet. I said, is it quick, if you want to add something?
I can't hear you.
I said, is there something quick you wanted to add?
Yeah, I want to add what Don said.
Okay, real quick, please.
Well, Don, I appreciate you bringing that up again, but just need to encourage the board that you need to be proactive. You can't let this slip by. It's going to take some work to develop a plan to present it to the task force. And you need to be articulate about what you plan on doing. And so it's going to take some work by this board to reach out to our neighbors to see if they're even interested in that. I mean, one of the reasons, for example, I mentioned Northeast Supervisory Union is because their proportionality is similar to ours. So down the road, it would prevent an argument about proportional representation out of just the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause. If you were to go like from the Franklin Northwest to the Franklin Central, which would involve CFA in Georgia and Fairfax in that area. So that's a larger population. So
That's a discussion that
it's a better match, but I can't encourage the board enough that they can't let this slip away. Otherwise, the consequences are going to be pretty dire.
I think that's a conversation that the board needs to have as a board and what we want to do and make those decisions, which is a much larger conversation for another night.
Okay, so we got some things to work on. Peter.
It's already out there.
Yeah.
Motion's still on there.
Was there a second?
Yeah, I second.
Yes, we got a second. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.